I paid for an elderly woman's groceries at the store. She grabbed my wrist, leaned in close, and whispered something that made my stomach drop. When your husband leaves, do not touch the snow in your yard. I laughed. 24 hours later, I was screaming on my porch. I was not rich. I was not heroic. I was just tired. That afternoon, I was standing in line at the grocery store counting bills in my head. Milk, eggs, bread. The basics. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me. My feet hurt. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Mark that I had ignored. The woman in front of me was shaking. Her coat was too thin. The sleeves were frayed. Her shoes were wet from melted snow. Her hands fumbled with coins. One rolled onto the counter. The cashier sighed. She was short by $12. The cashier tapped her nails and said, "Ma'am, I cannot hold up the line." The woman whispered, "I can put something back." I do not know why I did it. Maybe because I knew that feeling. That slow humiliation of choosing what you could afford to survive. Maybe because no one had been kind to me in a long time. I stepped forward and said, "I will cover it." The cashier barely looked up, but the woman turned slowly. Her eyes were sharp. Too sharp. Like they had seen endings before beginnings. She whispered, "You are kind." Her fingers wrapped around my wrist. Cold. Surprisingly strong. Then she leaned closer. "When your husband leaves, do not touch the snow in your yard." Her breath smelled like peppermint. Her voice did not shake. I smiled awkwardly. I nodded like people do when they want a moment to end. I thought she was confused, or lonely, or just grateful in a strange way. My husband Mark had not left me, at least not officially. But lately, he barely looked at me, barely spoke. He slept on his side of the bed with his back turned. His phone never left his hand. That night the house was quiet. Too quiet. The heater clicked on and off. The walls felt hollow. Mark came home late again. Snow clung to his shoes. He tossed his keys on the counter. "Long day," he said. I watched him loosen his tie. "Avoid my eyes." I asked, "Do you still love me?" He paused. Just long enough to hurt. "Of course," he said. Flat. Automatic. Then he went upstairs without another word. I stood there alone. The clock ticking too loud. Remembering her words. "When your husband leaves." I slept poorly. Dreams without faces. The next morning I woke up to silence. No alarm. No Mark. His side of the bed was empty. Cold. The closet door was open. Half his clothes were gone. Then I heard it. The sound of tires. I rushed to the window. Snow blew across the street. His car was gone. On the kitchen table. An envelope. My name written in his familiar rushed handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. "I need space. I am staying with someone else. Please do not make this harder." Someone else. The words blurred. My chest burned. My ears rang. I dropped the letter. Bent over the sink, trying to breathe. I stumbled toward the front door. I needed air. I needed anything that felt solid. When I stepped onto the porch, I froze. The yard was covered in fresh snow. Perfect. Undisturbed. Except for one thing. Footprints. They led from the street, straight across the lawn, toward the backyard. And stopped. No return path. No explanation. My heart pounded. My mouth went dry. I remembered her voice. "Do not touch the snow." I stood there gripping the doorframe, afraid to step forward. I grabbed my phone and called Mark. He answered irritated. "What do you want?" I said. "Did you come here last night?" He laughed. Short and sharp. Why would I do that? I listened for hesitation. For guilt. For anything. There was nothing. I hung up. The wind picked up. The snow shifted slightly. I stood there staring at the yard. Something felt wrong. Heavy. A low sound came from beneath the snow. A faint metallic hum. My stomach twisted. I called my neighbor. Tom came over in boots and a thick coat. Former construction worker. Always practical. He crouched near the footprints. "These are not animal tracks," he said. He tapped the ground gently with a shovel. It hit something solid. Not earth. Not rock. Metal. Tom stepped back slowly. You need to call the police. They arrived quickly. Red and blue lights flashing against the snow. They dug beneath the surface.
Carefully.
Just a few inches down. They found it. A steel trap. Big enough to crush a leg. Jagged teeth. Rusty.
Hidden.
Intentional. The officer looked at me. Do you know who would do this? My mind went blank. Then the truth snapped into place.
Mark.
3 weeks ago, he asked me to sign papers about the house. He said it was routine. Just planning. I said no. The house was in my name. Inherited. Protected. If something happened to me, he would inherit everything. The officer stepped aside and made a call. They found Mark within hours. At a motel across town. With another woman. He denied everything.
He swore it was not him.
But the evidence did not. The trap was registered under his name from years ago. A hunting license. A purchase receipt. He broke down.
He said,
I just wanted her gone. I sat in the police car shaking. Blanket around my shoulders. Snow fell softly around me. Then I remembered something else. The elderly woman. I went back to the store. Day after day.
Same time.
Finally, I saw her sitting on a bench outside, feeding birds crumbs from a paper bag. I approached slowly. I asked, How did you know? She looked up, not surprised. She smiled sadly. I used to live in your house, she said. My husband tried the same thing. She tapped the bench beside her. I survived. Because someone warned me. Mark went to prison, not just for the trap, but for what they found buried deeper. Another trap. Another plan. I sold the house. On my last morning there, it snowed again. I stood on the porch, did not step forward. Across the street, the woman stood watching. She nodded once. Kindness travels, she said. I nodded back. Now, whenever I help someone, I listen carefully to what they whisper. Because sometimes, a stranger saves your life before you even know you are in danger. I thought I was paying for groceries, but I was really buying my own survival.